What is the recommended temperature and baking time for baking cakes on both racks in the oven?
Hello and welcome. Today, we'll be discussing the recommended temperature and baking time for baking cakes on both racks in the oven. It's important to note that these guidelines may vary depending on the specific recipe or oven you're using. However, I'll provide you with some general recommendations that should help you achieve delicious cakes every time. Let's get started.
Temperature.
The temperature at which you bake your cakes plays a crucial role in achieving the desired texture and doneness. For most cake recipes, a standard oven temperature of 350 degrees Fahrenheit, 175 degrees Celsius, is a good starting point. This temperature provides even heat distribution and helps the cakes rise evenly.
Baking time.
The baking time for cakes can vary based on several factors, including the size of the cake, the type of cake batter, and your oven's performance. However, a general guideline for baking cakes on both racks in the oven is as follows. 1. Preheat your oven to the recommended temperature mentioned earlier. 2. Place the cake pans on separate racks in the center of the oven. If your oven has a convection feature, you can use it for better airflow and even baking. 3. Set the timer for the minimum recommended baking time specified in your recipe. This will vary depending on the cake type and size. 4. After the minimum baking time has elapsed, check the cakes for doneness by inserting a toothpick or cake tester into the center. If it comes out clean or with a few crumbs clinging to it, the cakes are likely done. If the toothpick comes out with wet batter, continue baking and check again after a few minutes. 5. Adjust the baking time as needed. If the cakes require more time, continue baking in increments of 2 to 3 minutes and retest for doneness. Avoid opening the oven door too frequently as it can cause temperature fluctuations. 6. Once the cakes are fully baked, remove them from the oven and let them cool in their pans on a wire rack for the recommended time specified in your recipe.
Additional tips.
Here are a few additional tips to ensure successful cake baking. Always follow the instructions provided in your specific recipe, as they may include variations and recommendations tailored to the cake you're making. Rotate the cake pans halfway through baking to promote even browning and rising. Avoid placing the cake pans too close to the oven walls or each other, as it can obstruct the airflow and result in uneven baking. If you need to bake multiple cake layers simultaneously, consider using baking strips or insulated cake pans to help prevent the edges from overbaking before the center is fully cooked. Remember, baking times and temperatures can vary, so it's important to rely on visual and doneness tests to determine when your cakes are perfectly baked. That's all for our discussion on the recommended temperature and baking time for baking cakes on both racks in the oven. I hope you found this information helpful and that it brings you success in your cake baking adventures. Remember to experiment and have fun in the kitchen. If you have any further questions, feel free to ask. Happy baking!